This is Your Own Best Company, a podcast for people who love to work alone. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Your Own Best Company. This is a podcast for people who love working alone. I am Franklin Taggart, and this podcast was my idea because I am one of those people who really loves the solitude aspect of working by myself. My guest today, though, says that the team is really the thing that needs to happen. And her name is Sophie Zollmann. She is a certified online business manager, social media manager, and customer acquisition specialist. She's been providing next-level business support services to coaches, consultants, and visionary entrepreneurs for over 20 years. We're going to be learning a lot about Sophie in the next little while. But first, I just want to officially say welcome, Sophie.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and share the solitude versus team versus how you can be a solitude person and have a team.
Well, I go both ways. But I wanted to have a show that really honored those folks that do love working alone. And I find that my best work happens in solitude, but the team makes it possible for me to have the solitude that I so crave. So I have to come out of the closet and say that I'm not an antisocial introvert, work by myself all the time kind of a guy.
Good to know. Good to know. No, I'm with you though. I mean, I have this office space that is just an office in my house. And so, I do work in solitude because my team is all remote.
Yeah.
And so they're not with me and they never have been. I've always been by myself, so to speak, in solitude, doing my stuff in an office or in my house or wherever we've lived, because we've lived in many places that I've done this.
Yeah.
And, and yes, there are times where I need to be focused, just me doing the work, shut the office door and do the stuff. But if I didn't have a team helping me do the work, not near as much would get done because we have multiple clients and we do lots of work for lots of people. So I can't just be me and do it, but the parts that are my responsibility, yes, I am 100% with you. Solitude in my office, and my office is the magical Harry Potter office.
Of course.
So I can move out of the way a little bit and you can see some of the Harry Potter decorations, but it literally is wall-to-wall Harry Potter stuff that even goes out into the hallway.
Yeah.
And this is my space of happiness and joy to work from. So when I am in solitude, I am surrounded by cool things, fun things that keep me, keep my mind out of overwhelm and stress. And it's like, okay, just stop, take a look around and go, the magic of Harry Potter. Yeah. And it just resets your brain and you can go back to it, So, that's a part of working in solitude is you definitely need an environment to work in solitude that is conducive to you working in solitude in a way that keeps you focused, keeps you going, but also doesn't allow you to get lost in the work so that you don't take breaks and you're in, ugliness, so to speak. You're in a, great environment. One of my coaches years ago is the one that turned me on to this because I've had different office spaces in the different homes we've lived in. And sometimes I haven't had an office space. I've had to be in the living room with everybody else.
Oh yeah.
Or, in the bedroom. And it's like, you don't really get to create your space. But ever since I had that coach and have had my own space, I always make sure it's decorated in a way that keeps it into a positive, fun work environment.
Very cool. Sophie, how are you finding your clients?
Most of my clients, believe it or not, have come through online marketing, social media specifically, and word of mouth, whether or not I've met them on social or I've worked for them or not worked for them. A lot of the people when I actually started the business of this, and, I've been doing it for 20 years, but I've only been in business for 12.
Yeah.
And when I started that business, I had spent 6 months on social media networking, trying to get connected and show my expertise. I mean, I literally lived on social media, and that's where it all started, was getting connected to other virtual assistants at the time, them asking me to do work for them. And then I was like, oh, now I need a business. And so I started a business, and then it just kept going. But initially, social media was my bread and butter for getting clients. But it wasn't just like the cold leads, cold outreach. It was, the networking, the socializing, the getting to know people. And then someone asking them, hey, I need a virtual assistant. And they'd be like, hey, I know Sophie.
Yeah.
And, most of them hadn't even worked with me, but because I built that relationship with them, they were comfortable recommending me as a potential VA for the people they did know. And it's just kind of grown and expanded from there to where I do, regular social media. Yes, I have lead magnets and things like that, but I also am big about personal outreach now and getting connected one-on-one with people, to be able to get to know them and vice versa, to know how we can support each other in all kinds of ways, not just buying my services or me buying theirs.
Yeah.
So, I'm in the process of building a really intentional referral group of people to refer business to each other and things like that. Because where I'm at in my business now, after the massive rebrand I did late last year, I really am at a level where referrals are more apt to come to me and be ready for me than a cold lead who doesn't know me from Adam and that kind of a thing. It's a little bit, you really do have to get to know me and who I am and what we do, to be able to know if you're a fit for us and vice versa.
So you started in virtual assistantship even 20 years ago?
Yes, I did. Wow. I was a stay-at-home mom, and my second child was a year old, and I needed to work to help the family pay the bills, but getting a job would have all gone to daycare for my two children.
Yeah.
And so that's when I jumped into the online world. And my first role was a virtual customer service rep for a guy in New York who had an e-commerce website for Masons and Shriners and Eastern Star people. He sold all their like ritual stuff that they did inside the lodge for their rituals, but he also sold, I called it the paraphernalia, the souvenirs and paraphernalia, that the rings they wear, the bumper stickers they have, all those things. He was selling those things in an e-commerce online situation. And I started out as his customer service rep virtually. And by the end of it, I was managing his business, almost every aspect of it. And we grew it into a $500,000 company. And, at that time it was technically a job because he did employ me, but I was a remote employee. So, when it got down to it, I was running his $500,000 company for $12 an hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So ouch. Needless to say, I was fried. I was overworked and underpaid, literally.
Yes.
And, I needed a break. And we were, fortunately, we were at a place where I could take a break, withdraw from working completely. But that only lasted 8 months because home ownership kicked in and the house started falling apart in certain aspects. We had to fix all those things. I had to go back to work. And I was like, yeah. Okay, I want to go back to work, but I do not want to do e-commerce. And I definitely am not going to get to accept $12 an hour for all that I know how to do. And so I got into transcription, and I found a company that would let me, and I did same way as an online, freelancer website, found a place to start. And that's where I was transcribing teleseminars. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
Long before Zoom and webinars and all the video stuff. I was transcribing the teleseminars of all the online coaches and consultants, info product and course creators that I now work for. And when I met them, so to speak, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to work for them. This is what I want to do. So I relaunched myself as a virtual assistant to start. But again, I grew into more and more things. And in 2016 is when I started getting certified in social media and online business management, because then I wanted to specialize a bit.
Yeah.
And I focused on the two things I was really good at, that I really loved doing, and that would have the most impact on the people I was, working with. And it just morphed and grew and changed. And then in 2019, I lost it all and I had to start all over again.
Yeah.
And
Doggone it.
and that grew me, that got me started into where I am now. I mean, from 2019 to now, I've regrown the business, redesigned the business twice now, actually,
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a place where I absolutely adore what I do. I adore my team. I adore my clients. And it is the best evolution of my business to date. So that losing it all in 2019 was really, truly the best thing that could have happened to me, even though in the moment
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it.
I know that some of the listening audience here are virtual assistants, and I know that they're going to be very interested in your story. Can you talk a little bit about the certifications that you received?
Sure. So in 2016, I was looking to specialize because prior to that point, I was a jack of all trades, master of none. And even though I did have a bit of a team of people, we were all still jack of all trades, master of none. And I decided that, to be able to really grow my business and make more revenue, I needed to get some very specialized certifications. So I decided to do both social media because that was my bread and butter all those years. And I actually love social media. I'm one of
Yeah.
those people that actually loves it. There's so many out there that hate it.
Yeah.
I love it. So that was one of my first instincts. And I actually did do both certifications at the same time. I got certified as an online business manager and a social media manager in the first quarter of 2016 at the same time. And the reason why I did the online business management is because I was doing that kind of work as a virtual assistant. And I was doing business management, I was doing marketing management, I was doing project management, team management, I was doing all those things.
Yeah.
And I tried to do it without the certification, and I epically failed at it because there were aspects of what I knew, what I didn't know that I needed to know. And so I went through the certification to learn some more finer details, to get certain processes and templates and things that I needed very much to be able to really truly be an OBM. And so I got certified with those two things in 2016, and that was one of my new evolutions. And I kind of went back to being a solo entrepreneur again,
Yeah.
trying to be an OBM and a social media manager with just like my own virtual assistant and some things like, a couple of key part-time people. And that was great for a while. And that led me to a really great role in 2018 where I went exclusive with one of my longtime clients as their operations person, their operations director, based on my certification. And then a year later, they let me go. And that's
Oh,
how I
wow.
lost it all.
Oh, my gosh. Those are the stories that you just shudder to hear, right?
Yes, yes. And, it seemed like a good move because I'd been with them for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And I had started out as a virtual assistant for them, moved into operations. And then, of course, once I got certified, they took advantage of my certifications and used my skills there. And, I thought it was a safe bet. And then a year later, they let me go. And I was done. Nothing.
Yeah.
Started over from scratch. So
Do you have any idea what they replaced you with?
they hired a new director of operations.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they promoted someone from event planner to director of operations. And she basically wanted her own team of people that she hired and vetted and all those things. And
Yeah.
and so she wanted to replace me. And so they replaced me.
So over the last 20 years, you've had to reinvent yourself many times.
Many times.
And so you've created a way of doing that I think we have to tell that story. Is like, when you're faced with these kinds of disruptions and upheaval, what do you do first?
Well, when I first got that call, and January 9th, 2019, I have that date ingrained in my brain. I got that call and it was early in the morning, and my husband works from home too. He works for a global company. Doesn't have his own business. And I got that call, and of course I was devastated and I was crying my eyes out, and I left my office and went downstairs to his office, and he turned around and looked at me and went, "Oh my God, what happened?"
Yeah.
And I told him, and believe it or not, he looked at me, he said, "Good." He
Oh, wow.
knew that I was in a place that I shouldn't be in, because after I went exclusive, the work environment, the work culture got really bad for
Yeah.
me. And I really did need to be gone from that role in that position, but I was not willing to do it because I actually was at the time trying to build a second half of the business that was going to be a digital marketing agency, to be able to have a second revenue stream and just have a team of people do the work.
Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness for that. But that was the first thing, is I had my husband right by my side, because after he said good, and I said, what? He goes, no, he goes, I get you're upset. He goes, but with the way things were going, you really needed to be gone from there. And so basically he told me, he goes, look at your books, get your numbers, figure out what you can cut, figure out what you need to start again for the next 6 months, if you even want to continue. And we will invest some of our money into it to help you regrow it. And so I did that because I knew I wasn't done. I wanted to do this. Especially since I was really looking to do that agency thing with the digital marketing. And then the other thing that saved me, so to speak, was I had a coach.
Yeah.
I had a business coach, and I was in the middle of a group coaching program, but I had just bought a VIP day right before I lost it all too.
All right. You had that in your pocket.
Yeah, it's like, oh, $25,000 debt and nothing to pay it with. Love it. So I got to this. So then the focus of my VIP day a couple months later was really fleshing out, at that time, the digital marketing agency, my messaging, I didn't rebrand. I just redid the messaging on my website, tried to create packages and, lead magnets and all those things, and tried to build it. And I worked with them, through part of 2020. And I actually regrew it to almost break even. It was the first year I was not profitable.
Oh, wow.
The first year I was not profitable. But I broke it. But I missed it by about 10 grand. So it wasn't far off. And 3 months after that, so March of 2020, my run rate was already back to 6 figures. Wow. I was going to make 6 figures in 2020 already. And then 2021, and even pandemic and on, a lot of people were devastated by the pandemic, but because of the kind of business I am and what I do, I was primed for all these people to come in and become my clients, to help them get to the online world, to do the online things, to manage their tech, to do all those things. So 2020 turned out to be where it morphed from just digital marketing into all things marketing, operations, and admin, so that we can basically take over the back end of a business, so to speak, and run the show so that the business owner can do what they need to do to grow the business and finally create that lifestyle that they've been trying to create by having a business.
Yeah.
And so 2020 ended up being my best year ever. And then 2021 continued that trend to where 2021, I made multiple 6 figures. So in 2 years,
you recovered your 25 grand.
I recovered my 25 grand and then some. Absolutely.
What were the things that your coach helped the most with?
A lot of it was mindset, because when that happens, you tend to go into, what did I do wrong? What am I going to do? Do I really know what I'm doing? How could I have let myself do that? All those different things, were they right about me when they, the things they said about me when they let me go. He helped me with the mindset. That was one of the biggest things that helped, was the mindset, because, I took the firing in a way that was, really negative, and could have impacted my ability to regrow my business, to start over. Because if I doubted myself, doubted my skills, doubted who my ideal client was, and those kinds of things, I wouldn't have gotten very far.
Yeah. And,
he looked at me and he said, Sophie, he goes, you didn't outgrow them. I mean, they didn't outgrow you. You outgrew them.
Yeah.
And that's why. And the other thing was, instead of I've lost it all and have nothing, he reframed that, says, you have everything you need to start over and grow this business and do this.
Yeah.
And some of that is what really helped me get going. I mean, yes, the marketing and the messaging and all that was needed, and making sure I was pricing things to make, all those different things. But ultimately it was the mindset of helping me get through that loss, that negativity, and to rebuild my confidence in myself, my skills, and my ability to run a business, and especially a 6-figure one.
Yeah. What would you say is the most important mindset shift that you had?
Um, well, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Because my new coach that I've been working with through the rebrand and up leveling again at the end of last year is really owning that I'm really good at what I do.
Yeah.
Owning it and showing up as me, who I am, the real me, not the business owner me, the 80s pop rock, Stevie Nicks, witchy woman, Harry Potter fanatic.
Yeah.
Showing up like that is what are the two things that really, really hit home for me with my new coach that I have now. And what inspired the rebrand, the redesign, and the up leveling of yet again what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, while we're kind of talking about the rebrand, I want to mention your website, sophiezo.com. Sophie with the PH and not an F. So it's SOPHIEZO.com. And you've got a pretty interesting proposition there for an opt-in. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the ultimate guide to taking back your time. It is all about how what you need to get off your plate and why to be able to do what you need to do. Because if you're sitting there trying to do all the things and you're stressed out, you're overwhelmed, you're frazzled, you don't have any family time, you don't have any play time, and you are at a point where you've hit six to seven figures and you want more, there is only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
7 days in a week. You can only do so much. And the absolute best way to take back your time to spend it how you want to spend it is by building a team, having a team of people to support you to do the work that you don't need to do, that you don't have to do. And for sure, the work you hate doing, because trust me, there's stuff you hate doing that people on my team love doing. So we do it for you. And freeing up that time to focus on what you need to do to grow the business, scale the business, and to have time to yourself. Because one of the things that taking back your time does for you, it frees you up to really, truly have weekends off if you want them off.
Yeah.
Go on vacation and really unplug. Because when you have the right team in place, including a management type person like us, you literally can unplug and go on vacation and not have to worry about a thing, because your team is going to be there handling everything while you're gone. And they will only call you if it's really an emergency and they really have to have you fix it or take care of it.
So can you talk a little bit about how you started to put together your team? Maybe how long it took to put your team together, and what were there any hiccups in that process that you had to learn from?
I have to say, it's not really a brag, but I think part of it is intuition and part of it is my process. But the first team member I have is my daughter-in-law, and she actually started with me right before I lost it all and had to start over. And I actually had to sit her and my son down and say, look, here's what happened. I got to start over. We're giving it 6 months. And if it doesn't work, then we're done. And I was like, you can stay with me and help me rebuild it. Or if you'd rather have more security, I would totally understand. You can, give me notice and you can leave and you can go get a job or whatever you need to do. And I said, you guys think about it and let me know. And they went home, and within an hour, she texted me and said, I'm in.
Well, that's awesome.
So my daughter-in-law, which is family, and I know a lot of people say, oh, don't hire family. It's like, well, I was able to set the parameters. Yes, we're family, but this is work. When we're at work, it's work.
Yeah.
When we're doing that, it's work. When we're doing family stuff, it's family stuff. And we have both been able to keep those boundaries quite well.
Good.
And so from there, so she helped me build it. It was just her and me in 2019.
Yeah.
Except for my copywriter. I did have to find a copywriter to help me write my copy, because I don't like to write. I'm not very good at writing, and I really want someone to do it for me. And so it was me, her, and the copywriter. And basically we've put all this stuff together ourselves all these years. But then I did actually have a, before I promoted my daughter-in-law last year, I had my own online business manager for a time, and she helped me put together our job descriptions, our hiring process, our application. And she actually helped me hire One of my team members that I have that's been with me for a couple of years now. But because we did that together as two OBMs, putting our heads together, because we both have different styles. So it was very interesting process of putting together what I wanted in job descriptions and the application process, and having her do part of it, her part too. And then we combined our methods, and I ended up with a hell of a woman, as you know, that does a lot of the digital marketing, graphic design and whatnot for us. And then last year, my daughter joined us.
Oh, wow.
So again, there's that open vetting process. Well, she's my daughter. I know her. I don't have to vet her. It's like, okay, but again, it's separating the family and business. And then there's a couple of people on my team that I have worked with off and on over the years. Before this incarnation, back in the early days, 12 years ago, I had them working for me, and they've just come and gone. And it's like, well, now I'm building an agency again. So can you come back? Will you come back? And so, but I'll be honest with you. Those people are people I met on social media.
Yeah.
And got to know. And then, said, hey, I need your help. Do you want to come in? Can you come in? Here's what I need. And, I just knew intuitively that they were people I wanted to work for me. And I knew, I knew they'd worked for other people too. And I'd seen their testimonials and all those things, because I do look at that, of course, but it's really about having a job description and that's not just the roles and responsibilities. That's, what kind of a person do you want to work with? Who do you want on your team? Because if you're a very strict, straight-laced person, you want those kind of people on your team, because if you don't want to get someone on your team dropping F-bombs every other 5 words, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, this is not working, but you also need to have work ethic and experience, all those things. And I don't have anything against the overseas people at all. In fact, I work with a company that is it's in the Philippines, and it's owned by an American who built it for himself initially, and then's like, well, hey, I can sell this to all my buddies. Yeah. And so, but she has come in to help with some of my stuff for my business. My team is all US based, and part of the reason I do that is because I have gotten a lot of clients over the years that have come to me and said, I want to hire you, but you have to have all US based people. I don't want anybody overseas touching my stuff. And I'm like, well, that actually is okay, because my team is all US based. Yeah. Just by chance. It's not that I'm not into that, but it's just every time I have done something, it's always been it's happened to be a US based person. Yeah. But you've got to have your job description, your characteristics, and, and include, if you can include something like a Colby test, a DISC test, you do want to do one of those personality / work ethic type tests to be able to really know if they're a fit for your company. But, application process, multiple interviews, and potentially, sample work, either sample work or, have them actually do a sample project for you, a paid sample project, to make sure that they get what you want, they get what they're, and they really can do what they're telling you they can do.
Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned that you use social media to find a couple of the people that are on your team, and this was years ago. The social media has changed a lot in that time frame, of course. But can you talk a little bit about your involvement in social media at that time, and how was it that you were able to create these kinds of conversations where you could get to know people at that level?
Well, in those days, I literally was living on social. When I wasn't doing work, I was on social media. I mean, I drove my husband bananas for a while. I was, if I wasn't eating, sleeping, or doing client work, I was on social media, and I was having conversations. I was engaging. I was following people. I was talking to them. I wasn't just liking their posts. This is back before engagement was really the key to organic growth. And that's just what I did. I had conversations and I talked to people, and it was who I was. I mean, I'm that kind of a person anyway. I'm an outgoing person. I like to meet people. I like to talk to people. And, and I just made the time, spent the time getting to know people, including other virtual assistants at the time, to be able, because right after I started the business, I did have a coach at the time. And she told me, initially I was just referring stuff I didn't do to those people. And she was the one, she's like, why are you doing that? ask them to be on your team. You hire the client and you just assign the work to them and let them do the work.
Yeah.
And that was my first, that was my first experience of building an agency of sorts, having a team-based business. And it was, it's like, well, duh, why didn't I think of that? I am giving away money by saying, oh no, I don't do that, but she does.
Yeah.
And that was part of the process. Is even back then, I was building a network of people in my industry and getting to know them on social media and whatnot, to be able to say, oh, I can refer you to so-and-so because I don't do it. And then it was like, oh, well, no, can you come on my team and you'll get the work, kind of a thing. And today it's different because there's way more people on social media first. It's much harder to have the time to have those conversations. But because of my certifications and some of the and the groups that I'm in, because of that are very tight knit. And, I can go to my OBM organization and say, hey, I'm looking for a virtual assistant who does X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And they'll refer people that I know I can know, like, and trust, because they're my fellow OBMs and I know that they're in the world. But there's a few virtual assistant based groups in Facebook that you can go get into to find people. But that's why your job application, all your process has to be very fine tuned, because if you just post in because the one group specifically, which is where I posted and found the digital marketing VA that I have now that I've had for a couple of years. If you just say, hey, I'm looking for a virtual assistant that does X, Y, and Z, and I pay X dollars per hour, and you're going to get 10 hours a month or whatever, you will get half that group saying, I can do it. I can do it. And you're so overwhelmed with people who say they can do it. You can't even find the time to vet them, to try to interview them.
Yeah.
You really have to have that. That's why you have the job description, the characteristics, the pay, location, time zone, and at least, an application or something. Because again, if you just say, comment below if this is you, you're going to be blown up, with all kinds of comments. At least if you're getting like a Google form application or something, you can quickly go through those responses and say, yes, no, yes, no, no, no. And then you can go from there. But now that's kind of how I have to do it. I do have, I still have relationships with several virtual assistants that I can also reach out to and say, hey, if I really don't want to go into one of the groups and get bombarded with applications, again, I talk to people in my network specifically to get referrals.
So now these days, you probably don't have quite as much time to spend on social media. But when you do spend time on social media, what's your favorite haunt?
Facebook is now one of my biggest places to be. Facebook and Instagram. I am expanding into LinkedIn this year as well. With the rebrand and the up leveling of my own business. A lot of my people are going to be on LinkedIn just as heavily as they are, if not more so, than Facebook and Instagram. So I have that three-prong social media thing where I'm doing LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram most predominantly, especially when it comes to the personal outreach. That's Facebook and LinkedIn for sure. The personal one-on-one outreach is on both of those platforms. And I just really, I started doing a lot of that last half of last year, but then I've upped my game on LinkedIn in other ways too. Like I started weekly lives on LinkedIn that I've never done before.
Good.
And I'm broadcasting it everywhere because I use a tool that allows me to blast it to 3 other places at the same time, repurposing and maximizing my lives. But, those are my places where I'm at now, pretty much those 3 places.
Which streaming software did you end up choosing?
Restream.io.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And how do you feel? Do you enjoy the live video?
I do. Considering I resisted it for so long.
Yeah.
I resisted video for a long time. It's like, I can talk about it and tell you that's a good strategy, but I could never get myself to really get into it and consistently. But when I really sat down with my new coach and I went through, we talked about it and she, come up with your topics.
Yeah.
And then come up with bullet points to talk about, and then just, pick a day and time each week to go do it. And so I did that. And we happen to have in the coaching program, we happen to have a get shit done day where I actually went through and was like, okay, these are the topic, these are the areas, these are, and then I gave them to my copywriter and I said, here's what we're going to talk about. Give me bullet points, give me topics. And so she started building me my list of topics and bullet points so that all I have to do is Tuesday morning at 9:30-ish is I jump on, I set up Restream, I put all my info in there, I hit go, and I have my bullet points in front of me and I just talk and I be me. And I'm just like, it's the more relaxed, unscripted way to go, which is what I like, because, when I've tried script video and I cannot do it because I get here and I will flub up and I'll be like, and it's not that I want perfection, but it's totally different when I can be more of me when I'm not reading a script.
Now, how have you seen your results change on social media since you've started to take that approach?
I have lots and lots and lots of connection calls on my calendar.
Yeah.
I really have. And it took time to really find the right outreach message because, so many people do the outreach and then boom, sell you. And that was not what I was about. But it took me a while to figure out how to message it so that they really got that. And they didn't immediately come back and say, yeah, I'll connect, but don't sell me. And I'm like,
yeah, I've had to start doing that myself, because it seems like every connection that I get now is somebody that's just all they want to do is pitch, and I just don't have time for it. I get probably close between 50 and 75 messages a day between Facebook and LinkedIn, and I just don't have time.
I know. Oh, I totally get it. And that's why I'm not about the sales pitch, because here's the thing. If I don't know you from Adam and I reach out to you and say, Franklin, let's connect, yes, I've looked at your profile and yes, I've looked at, like your website and stuff, but I truly have no idea if you're an ideal client for me until I have a connection conversation, not a sales pitch, because it doesn't do me any good to go, hey, Franklin, how's it going? Here's what I do. Here's what I sell. You want to hire me? And you're like, well, no, but, and it's like, well, I do this. And so how does that? And I'm like, oh, oops. You're not an ideal client, and I just pitched you for nothing.
Yeah, the big oops. I know that.
It's like, oh, yeah, you're not my ideal client. Sorry.
Yeah. Sophie, why don't you describe maybe 2 or 3 scenarios where you would be the perfect person to call?
Well, the most ideal situation is, generally speaking, you are a coach or consultant in the spiritual, transformative / kind of health and wellness area of coaching, and you've hit your mid 6-figure-ish point and you are maxed out. You're overwhelmed, you're doing it all, you're burning the candle at both ends, and you are really ready to let it all go, to make the investment in yourself and your business, to have that team of people to come in and take over all that stuff and help you. And we partner with you. We're not just this team of robots. We actually become a part of your business, vested in, you doing well and getting the stuff off your plate and reducing your stress. And so you're ready for that, but you also aren't ready for putting out 5 different job descriptions, 5 different roles, and, trying to hire them. The beauty of what I do is you get that team, management and all, in one place, so that you come in and you're ready to hire a team, and you don't want to go through hiring a virtual assistant, a graphic designer, a business manager, a project manager. You don't want to hire 5 different people. You want to hire us or a team like us, because if we're not a fit, I'm going to help you find what is a fit. But you're that coach or consultant in that space that is ready to grow to 7 figures and beyond, and you're ready to do whatever it takes, invest, and it's investing in yourself in the business. It's not just, another expense I have to go to grow my business. You're still there. You're not ready for us, because it really is an investment, and it's a long-term investment, and the return on your investment may be slow to come about depending upon where we start and where we're going and your goals and things like that. but it is ultimately an investment in yourself and your business, because it's going to free you up and give you time to truly take care of yourself, to do the things you want to do, business and personal.
Okay. Very good. Are there any other scenarios that you can think of where people would need to put you at the top of their list?
I mean, we can work with just about any online entrepreneur.
Okay.
I do have an attorney that I do some work for, mostly in the marketing area. Here's the other thing is we do marketing operations and admin,
Yeah.
but not everybody needs all of those things all at once, especially. So
Right.
if you really want to if you want to outsource your marketing, all of the marketing, online marketing, you can come to us for that too, because we can get specific into just marketing or just operations. We can break it down into, we can be a division of your business, not the entire back end of your business if we need to too. So that in that case, you're still up in the mid six figures, but you've got some people in place and you just need to fill one area, one division, so to speak. So
Yeah.
marketing or operations, management, those things, you can come to us for that as well.
Sophie, I have just one more question, and it may go a little deep. I mean,
Okay.
going back 20 years when you were, when you were a stay-at-home mom looking for a way to, contribute to the family's bottom line. I mean, what are the most important things that you've learned about yourself through being a business owner?
Well, the first thing is when I got into this world 20 years ago, I had no inclination for having a business, being a business owner. I was content being a freelancer, working for somebody, getting told what to do, when to do it, how to, all those things. And it wasn't really until I started seeing the potential of what I could do monetarily, but even before my kids were grown and gone, because I was the second income of the family. But what I learned, and I learned that being a business owner is way different than being a freelancer.
Oh yeah.
And it's okay to be one or the other, but if you do become the business owner, you have to have the business owner mindset. You have to know how to run a business.
Yeah.
You have to know your numbers. You have to, know how to hire and fire. You have to, all of those things, because it is a totally different world from being a freelancer working for somebody who is the business owner and manager, and becoming the business owner and manager, and then hiring the people to manage and whatnot for you. So, when I started that business, I had no clue what I was doing, but I can say the three virtual assistants that were wanting to hire me as a subcontractor also helped me start my business, gave me some of the ins and outs, helped me, name it, go through the legal stuff, and help me build my website. I even then had support from people to help me do it, and to go to and be like, Michelle, what did you do in this situation? Dawn, what did you do in this situation? And to this day, I can still go to those three women and say, hey, I'm here in my business now. Are you there? And do you have any advice for me? That kind of a thing. And, that is, that's the biggest thing I did learn also is don't do it alone. Even if,
Right.
and I'm not talking about the team aspect of it, but that's important. Don't do it alone. So surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, who are where you want to be, and learn from them. And, even if you have to pay them as coach, consultant, whatever, it is going to be one of the best investments you can make in your business, is having that out, because you can't look at everything with your own eyes and not end up getting, blinders on and
Oh
rose
yeah.
colored glasses and, things like that. You've got to have people in your circle of support, whether they're colleagues, whether they're coaches and mentors, that, that can stand by you and help you get through the good times and the bad times, because you're going to have all of it and you need that support. So that support behind you 100%.
I know people can find you on LinkedIn, and do you go live at the same time every week, or are you doing that just kind of spontaneously?
Generally speaking, it's Tuesdays at around 9:30 Central, so
Okay.
10:30 Eastern. But
Very
it's
good.
somewhere in that 9:30 to 10 o'clock time zone or time area. Central is when I go live every Tuesday.
Very good. And I noticed that you were active on a couple of other social media platforms. We'll make sure that people can find you in those places as well. But I also wanted to remind you one more time again, sophiezo.com, and take advantage of the Get Your Time Back opt-in. I think that sounds like a really great place to start with Sophie. Sophie, is there anything you'd like to say in closing today?
One other place to find me that we didn't talk about is my podcast. I have a podcast, right. Building Your Empire with Sophie Zo. The first season is all me giving away my tips and tricks for growing your business, scaling your business, delegating the whole 9 yards. And then this year, it's all about guest experts with the same advice, their best tips for scaling your business to the next level and beyond. So you can always check me out there too. That's another way to learn a lot about what we do and those kinds of things. So you can come there and check me out there. And again, don't do it alone, whether it's a support system, a team, whatever, and always keep going. If it's really your passion and you really want to do it, keep going no matter what, because you never know. It's a roller coaster, and but I love roller coasters, so so it's it kind of fits. I do love roller coasters, so when your business is a roller coaster, you're like yes, no, yes. So, but just keep going, because if it's truly your passion and you truly want to do it and make that impact in the world in whatever way that is, keep going no matter what.
So which one of the Harry Potter characters is your spirit character?
My favorite Harry Potter character is Sirius Black.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
He's my guy. He's, I loved him the best of all of them because of, all that he's been through. He was in with the group, and then he was an outcast, and then he comes back and he, takes care of Harry until the end where they kill him off. But yeah, Sirius was always my favorite character in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, on that note, I think we should be finished.
Okay.
Thank you so much thank you, Sophie, for being my guest today. This has been a delightful conversation, and I know people will be getting a lot out of it. And I just encourage people to continue finding you wherever you are online. There are so many places to go. But sophiezo.com is the kind of central clearinghouse.
Absolutely, yes. You can find me so many places, but that's the best place to start.
Well, thanks for being my guest today, Sophie.
Thank you for having me, Franklin. It's been a great time, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Your Own Best Company. If you enjoyed the show, would you do me a favor and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast host? If you really love it, leave me a review or share it with your circles. If you feel like your career is reaching a dead end, or you're feeling a deep sense of dissatisfaction in your work right now, I help people discover their gifts and then find or create new opportunities that are the best fit for their talent, experience, and lifestyle. Email me at coaching@franklintaggart.com for more information. I also help people start, finish, and launch creative projects, and I offer an ongoing marketing mastermind for solopreneurs and freelancers. More information on these programs and services can be found at franklintaggart.com. Thanks again for spending this time with me.